400 years. Therefore, when I'm saying when you are reading the black text, read also the codes that are written in the text, so that you don't end up with the text and you miss the meaning behind the text. The Israelite there, therefore, would represent us, the oppressed, us, the Hebrews, us, the Africans, us, the colonized, who are suffering. And the black book says, I'll let you go there for 400 years. And in 400 years, I'll send you a Messiah. I'll send you a Savior. I'll send you a Redeemer. I'll send you help. And when the help comes, he's going to help you to walk out of the land of Egypt, representing out of the colonial system, out of the oppressive system, away from the economically oppressive systems. We need to start having an exodus out of our own homes. And if right now you are in your house and you are still planning how to go back on the marketplace, I think you are missing the lesson here. The whole idea is start preparing a psychological exodus. Start preparing an emotional exodus. Start preparing a material exodus. Start preparing a political exodus. Start preparing an academic exodus. Start preparing a social exodus, a fashion exodus, a medicine exodus. Move out of systems of oppression into the space of your greater freedom. We will have failed at this late hour to wait for the plague to go over so that we can go back and become slaves again. Failed at this hour that we are waiting for the lockdown to end and we go back to business as usual. We will have missed it altogether if in the midst of this quarantine we fail to see and hear the whisper of the great exodus. Stand up therefore, gird your loins, start your journey, move away from colonization into the land of your own freedom. It's been too long that we have ended up here. Let me speak to my friends who are in diaspora. After this presentation, please apply for loans in your countries. Pick up those loans and come back home. That is your salary for the time that you have spent in all those cities without being paid and remunerated correctly. That is how the Egyptians have to pay their slaves. It's time that we collect our resources and come back and rebuild that which is broken. The moments of the Passover, when the angel of death is moving through the doors of our houses, we hope that those who are ready for the Exodus will start their mental journey. Maybe this is what Mali was talking about, liberating ourselves from mental slavery. Maybe this is what Marcus Garvey was talking about, repatriation. Maybe this is what Bunny Wailer was talking about, going and heading back home. Maybe this is what Martin Luther was talking about, dream. Maybe this is what Malcolm X was talking about, the respect of the African people. Maybe this is what Haile Selassie was talking about, the restoration of the African kingdoms. Maybe this is what Mugabe was talking about, giving back land to the people. Maybe this is what Jomo Kenyatta was talking about, that you cannot give us Christianity and take away our land. Maybe this is what Langalibalele was talking about, that people are more valuable than the materials. And until the African child understands the season, we will wait for the virus and the plague to go over and go back again to become slaves of the same system. It is high time that we begin our Passover. High time we begin our Exodus. High time we begin our mental Exodus. Start moving away from systems that are colonizing you and finding your true freedom as an African. It is useless and hopeless to celebrate Easter before you understand the values of Passover. Start moving out of oppression. Then you can appreciate the meeting at the junction, where your spirituality meets your politics, meets your economics, and they are all fighting for the resources on the ground. The question I have for you, who is the thief on the left? Who is the thief on the right? And who has crucified the African people on this cross? Going on here. But I said initially you need to look at the sacred scriptures or sacred text through the spiritual eyes, look at it through the physical eyes, look at it through the theological eyes, look at it through the political eyes, look at it through the social eyes, look at it through the personal eyes, and so that you can be able to see the various definitions and meanings that are there. Spiritually, what is at war here? Physically, what are the elements you find here? Theologically, what is the theology of the passage? Fourthly, esoterically, what sort of meanings is hidden there? Politically, who is nailing who to the cross? We find that the political system is actually responsible for nailing people to the cross. Socially, how do we find ourselves at the junction with the spirituality that is above us, our resources that are under the ground, and our politics on the left, and our finances that are on the right? We meet at the junction of the cross. And it is here that we need to start making questions as to who is crucifying who. And it is at this junction that theology makes sense. That the crucifixion of Yeshua did not happen as a political thing. It happened as a religious intention, where the religious people gathered together to crucify a man who did not believe what they were teaching. Therefore, persecution must not be looked at in the sense that it's going to be a political issue. It is actually a religious issue. When religion feels that its belief systems have been challenged, when those that you are challenging religiously feel what you are saying is not in harmony with what they are saying, they are the very first people who can begin to crucify you. So the cross again teaches us that when religion is tampered with, when you tamper with the belief system of the people, you are actually beginning to scratch the back of crucifixion. And the death of Yeshua, for me, represents again the death of truth in the hands of politics and economics fighting over it. I'll repeat that again. The death of Yeshua on the cross represents the death of truth at the hands of religion, of materials, and politics. Therefore, what is it that is crucifying our countries? What are the politicians doing? What are the economists doing? Therefore, I want you again to look at it from my own, as an artist point of view. I can again look at the cross from an artist point of view. And I say, here is Africa at the center, hanging between the two thieves. Who are the two thieves? We have the thieves that are in the east. We have the thieves that are in the west. And all these people are hanging next to the death of Yeshua on the cross. What am I talking about? We have thieves that are in the east, representing China. We have thieves that are in the west, representing the rest of the Western world, including the USA. They are fighting over the materials that Africa has at the center of it. Therefore, the Passover for me and the atonement and the crucifixion of Yeshua has to do again with the common people, the local people dying for their resources. And by the time they die, they are surrounded by two thieves on the left and on the right. Having said that, I want us to backtrack again and move over into the representation of the Easter holidays as we find it in the Passover. That is in the book of Exodus. In the book of Exodus, you find that the 10 plagues took place as we are going through a plague right now. I hope in the back of your head you can begin to be thinking about some of these ideas. As they were going through the plagues, many of the plagues affected the other tribes, the Egyptians, but did not affect the Israelites. By the time you come to the Hebrew people, the chosen people, again you need to understand who are the chosen people. The chosen people are not the bourgeoisies. The chosen people are not the rich people. The chosen people are not the affluent people. The chosen people are the victimized, are the downtrodden, are the enslaved, are the disenfranchised. Those that are being used as slaves are the chosen people. So you need to understand that there's a preservation that happens between those that are oppressing the poor and the poor themselves. Then you hear something very unique happening right there. That while on that last night, when the Egyptian children died, the children of the Israelites, the children of the Hebrews, the children of the chosen were preserved. Can I speak right there? That the chosen will be preserved in the midst of this. But not only the chosen. I'm not saying those that are sick are not chosen. But remember that you need to kill the lambs in order to preserve the nation. Innocent people are going to be working and standing and smeared on our doors. But the whole idea is the preservation of the chosen people. I tend to shudder and tremble with fear when I remember that the God we are dealing with, Mvelingang himself, the God of the universe, he is just and he is fair. I tremble when I think like that. That we are not dealing with someone who does not know justice, who does not know mercy, who does not know how to execute his judgment with fairness. I simply want to ask a question. Who will make America accountable for the 20 million plus slaves that they came to collect in Africa, and many of them are lying in the seabed on the Atlantic Ocean? Who will make Britain accountable for the amount of slave trade and colonization that they did from Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, Zimbabwe, including South Africa? Who will call the Germans to book? Who will call Belgium to book after the butchering of more than 10, 15, 19 million people in Congo? If we know that God is just, who are we then to question when catastrophes happen on the face of the earth? Until when did we think that these things will go on? For the Black Book tells us that from the first to the second to the third and the fourth generation of those that have sinned against me, I will follow them with punishment. Therefore, when we think of the justice of the universe, the law of the karma, do unto others what you want others to do unto you, the law of Ubuntu, learning to protect and looking after each other, and we see what colonization has done, when that principle should come into play, will we not tremble when we know that as rich people, we have not treated the poor people well? As a landlord in your house, you have not treated your maid correctly. As a colonizer, you have not treated the colony well. For me, the concept of the Passover is a great equalizer. When we know that justice is coming into place to clean up the mess of the problems that we have caused, not only to ourselves, but through disobedience and misusing and abusing the poor, justice will always follow us. And when the hand of justice finally is raised on us and plagues fall upon us, who are we to complain? We who are locked up behind our houses with the blood posted on our doorposts. When we are inside our houses, then the Black Book says, kill your lambs. I like that part there. And when you kill the lambs, please do not break the bones. I like that part there. Now it is time for us as parents, when we are giving our meat to our children, we are not cutting for them small little pieces. We give them the whole piece, including the bone that is inside. We don't break any bones. It's high time children stop drinking milk and eating powdered things in small pieces. Now we give them the whole chunk of the drumstick of the lamb, and they must eat all of it. And while they're eating it, it has bitter herbs in it. What we failed to do during the times of abundance, now we have to do it in times of bitterness. And while we are eating, we can't be sitting down and relaxing. We must be standing, for we are about to leave this place. The concept again of agency, the agency that is found within the house, it is that of preparation for exit. During these moments of quarantine, during these moments of coronavirus, it is time that we close up our houses. It's time that we slaughter our lambs. It's time we give our children the whole pieces of meat, doctrines, teachings, truth. Nothing is left behind. For it is a moment when truth must be spoken and nothing must be left unturned. And when we do this while we are standing, for preparation is along the way. We cannot celebrate Easter without understanding Passover. We cannot celebrate the death of Jesus on the cross without and before we understand the Exodus itself. We cannot speak about the death of man on the cross before we begin to speak about the slavery and the colonization of the greater African people. If you've not read about it, that I'm going to send you to a slave land. I'm going to send you as slaves there for 400 years. Is it not interesting that up to now, it has been 400 years from the time colonization has started?